Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago's opposition leader calls on Prime Minister Rowley to take over the national security portfolio. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 17th October 2023, brought to you in association with our friends at Antillian Group. Details when we return.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. He heads the National Security Council, but the leader of the opposition in Trinidad and Tobago wants the Prime Minister to take on an additional role as Minister of National Security. Kamla Persad-Bissessar made the call at a news conference as she called National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines an abysmal failure. Urvashi Tarari Rupnarayan of TV6 News reports.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, keeping with her budget response theme that there's no prosperity without security, tells Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley it is time he assumes the Ministry of National Security.
Hines must go. Rowley must man up. He's boss. He should take over the Ministry of National Security. And still, Mr. Hines, the most vivid depiction of abject failure in national office, remains as Minister of National Security. On behalf of these honourable nationals, I urge the Prime Minister Keith Rowley to dismiss Mr. Hines, and he himself, Mr. Rowley, should assume the position of Minister of National Security. Rowley must man up and show some leadership in this most critical area.
She says he must work with other stakeholders to get a handle on crime, yet she laments the PM's budget presentation.
The speech was the most embarrassing speech by a Prime Minister in a budget debate we have ever heard in history. This man is fighting and attacking everyone in this country beside the criminals. He voiced no empathy for the thousands of families who have lost innocent loved ones in horrible homicides, home invasions, blatant street attacks, and other dastardly crimes. The Ramsey showed no concern over the impact of crime on business owners.
She points out that Dr. Rowley's presentation was void of mention of the brazen attempt on the life of Deputy Prisons Commissioner Sherwin Bruce.
Criminals have no fear of the authorities and no respect for the hopeless leadership of the National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines, nor of the Prime Minister as head of the National Security Council. The attempt to kill Mr. Bush suggests that organized criminal gangs are emboldened. They feel they could trade their high-powered guns at top officers of law enforcement and elude capture.
The opposition leader says she remains willing to meet with the government on crime as promised.
We are ready, willing and able. We have always been ready, willing and able. However, the Prime Minister promised in his letter to me that before we meet, he would send his proposals. Today is 12th of October. I responded to him since the 28th, I believe, of September, 26th of September, and to date, no response, no proposals.
Mrs. Persad-Bissessar accused the finance minister of misleading the country in winding up the budget debate when he insisted that the economy grew. She maintains that data show the GDP has decreased, unemployment has increased, food prices have increased, and the energy sector has collapsed. Urvashi Tarari Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
Go Blue Consulting has launched its 5th Disruptive Leadership Conference in Trinidad and Tobago, aimed at helping attendees learn and take inspiration from companies. TTT News has more.
The conference, which also includes a series of leadership workshops, addressed many leadership gaps and challenges encountered across the region. Founder Judy McCutcheon said the last 4 conferences were well received, attracting high-level CEOs and executives, and expects to do the same in 2024.
In a world that is constantly changing, where the digital revolution has altered the way we live, work, interact, and socialize, it is crucial for our leaders to adapt and evolve. The Disruptive Leadership Conference is designed to serve as the crucible for this evolution.
And guest speaker at the event, business stalwart and author Ravi Tiwari, said these types of events are critical in changing the leadership landscape.
If it hasn't worked for 50 years, what is about it is going to work now? It's not going to work. Because central planning cannot diversify an economy. But what will, not can, what will diversify an economy is creating a culture of entrepreneurship and enterprise. That is what diversifies an economy. And that is why, Judy, conferences such as yours is critical to the well-being of the Caribbean.
The Disruptive Leadership Conference takes place on November 16th and 17th at the Hilton Trinidad Hotel and Conference Center.
A significant shift in the approach to bail applications in the 1st and 2nd District Courts will take place this week in St. Lucia. The courts will introduce the requirement of a certificate of character to determine eligibility of those posting bail for offences involving firearms and ammunition. Zane Romulus of the DBS News World reports.
Important changes to the requirements for processing bail applications have been announced by the 1st and 2nd District Courts. These new regulations, which will come into effect from October 16, 2023, will impact all individuals seeking bail for offences involving firearms and ammunition or for bail amounts exceeding $5,000. The primary change involves the introduction of a requirement for all sureties to provide a valid certificate of character when posting bail for such cases. Previously, individuals could present a confirmation letter from their bank or credit union to serve as a financial guarantee when posting bail. However, this practice has now been discontinued. This move signifies a substantial departure from the previous approach, which relied heavily on financial institutions' letters to secure bail. The implementation of these changes marks a significant shift in the approach to bail applications in the 1st and 2nd District Courts, and is in line with the court's commitment to maintaining the safety and security of citizens and ensuring that bail applicants can be relied upon to appear for their court hearings and adhere to the conditions of their release. The certificate of character requirement will involve a detailed background check, including character references, criminal history, and any other relevant information that can help the courts assess the surety's suitability. This additional layer of scrutiny is expected to deter potential misuse of the bail system. For the DBS News World, I am Zane Romulus.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Leoda Bradshaw and 3 others charged for kidnapping and murder. Natalia Clark of CVM Live has been tracking this story in Jamaica.
This is how we got to the charges today. On September 9, news emerged that Philippa Paulwell's daughter and her mother were missing. 2 days later, September 11, Paulwell offered $500,000 to anyone with information that could help to find the pair. Late in the evening, on October 5, our newsroom got information that 4 people were arrested and in custody at the Halfway Tree police station. The next day, 2 bodies were found in Walker Hill, East Kingston, believed to be those of Toshna and Saraya. Today, the police confirmed the murders and that the bodies were burnt, likely the same day the mother and daughter were reported missing. A month after they've disappeared, and 10-month-old Saraya Paulwell and her mother 27-year-old Toshna Patterson are confirmed dead. The prosecution told the Home Circuit Court on Friday that their key suspect, Leota Bradshaw, came to Jamaica for the sole purpose of ordering their death. She allegedly conspired with her cousin, Roland Balfour, to hire hitmen who successfully shot and burnt their bodies to a crisp. Leota Bradshaw has been charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to kidnapping, and murder. Roland Balfour, Rashane Miller, and Richard Brown all have identical charges: 2 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to kidnapping, and misprision of felony. The indictment suggests Bradshaw began her plot on September 5 when she learned that politician Philip Paulwell fathered a child with Patterson. Bradshaw also has a child with Paulwell. She reportedly contacted Miss Patterson on Facebook and said she, Leota Bradshaw, is Paulwell's wife. She then advised Patterson that a DNA test is needed to confirm Saraya is her spouse's daughter. The very next day, on September 6, Bradshaw, who is a U.S. citizen, arrived in Jamaica and through her cousin contracted Rashane Miller and Richard Brown to fulfill the dastardly deed. She then allegedly met with these men at the Stony Hill home address where she was staying the night she arrived. The men also went to scope Miss Patterson's home the same night. These alleged criminals were reportedly paid $100,000 in the equivalent of US dollars and were promised another $400,000 after the job is complete. The men returned to the Stony Hill address on Thursday, September 7, to allegedly further discuss the execution plan. On the morning of September 9, the murder-accused Bradshaw made several calls to Toshna Patterson's phone. Bradshaw arrived at Patterson's home shortly after 7 a.m. The prosecution says evidence shows Patterson leaving her home and entering an SUV parked at her gate. She remained in the vehicle for 15 minutes, then the vehicle drove away at 7:22 a.m. The prosecution believes Bradshaw brought the pair to Stony Hill in the vicinity of where she, Leota Bradshaw, was staying, and delivered them to her co-accused Richard Brown and, quote, other persons who are yet to be apprehended, end quote. The prosecution believes that the pair were then taken to Hills in Kingston East, where they were shot and their bodies burnt. On Friday, October 6, the police visited the crime scene and reportedly found blood, dried bones, and other items of evidentiary value. That's the extent of the prosecution's voluntary indictment for Leota Bradshaw and her cousin Roland Balfour. Their legal team, which included Deborah Martin, Bert Samuels, and Matthew Hyatt, say more time is needed to prepare and present their case. Mrs. Justice Simone Wilfreeze ordered Bradshaw and Balfour to return to court on December 1, 2023. Until then, Martin has asked that any update in the case be communicated through the court and not through the media. She accuses the police of providing details to the public before the defendant's team is notified. I'm Natalia Clark, CVM News.
We now head to Guyana, where Renata Burnett shares a couple regional items in HGP's regional roundup.
In Trinidad, officers of the U.S.-based Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms Bureau are assisting local police in tracing the origin of several high-powered rifles, machine guns and ammunition that were seized in a forested part of Santa Cruz on Wednesday afternoon. The 35 weapons were seized as part of an operation led by officers of the Interagency Task Force off Cangre Hall Road. Police said the officers found the cache of weapons in a shed. 2 AK-47 rifles, 2 Draco rifles, an M16 rifle, 2 Uzi machine guns, and a Beretta machine gun were among the guns seized. We tell you now that Haiti declined Thursday to join neighboring Dominican Republic in reopening a key commercial border crossing, leaving some trade at a standstill and prolonging a diplomatic crisis over the construction of a canal on Haiti soil. Dominican President Luis Abinader had closed all borders, including the crossing at the northern Dominican city of Dajabon, for nearly a month to protest the construction of the canal, which he says violates the treaty and will take water needed by Dominican farmers. Haiti says it has the right to build the canal and that it's urgently needed because of a drought. Abinader's government partially reopened the borders on Wednesday, including the one at Dajabon, home to a key market for commerce between the countries, but allowed only limited trade and kept a ban on Haitians entering the Dominican Republic for work, school, tourism, or medical issues. He also kept the ban on issuing visas to Haitian citizens.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.